So today our guest is Heidi Siefkas, who wrote the book When All Balls Drop. And Heidi, I spoke with you for a little bit, and wow, what a story. It is absolutely amazing. Allie, wait till you hear this girl's story. It is something else.
Well, When All Balls Drop is a true story of what is called post-traumatic growth. And many people might not be familiar with that term.
Yeah, I never heard of that term.
Maybe come across the opposite, post-traumatic stress.
Right.
But there is actually an upside in loss and trauma. And what happened to me was a when all balls drop moment. And that was about 6 years ago when everything in my life that I held dear vanished. And it started by something that we all do probably weekly. I took out the trash on a normal fall day, not too far from where you guys are broadcasting in the Hudson River Valley of New York, and a 1,000-pound tree limb struck me as I was heading to the dumpster. I didn't hear, see, or luckily feel a thing. And that took my life on a detour.
Did it must have almost crushed you?
The tree, yes, it crushed me, it left me unconscious, and it broke my cervical 7, so it broke my neck, and I was out for 5 days, and I awoke in an unfamiliar place, and my husband and my mother were by my side, which my mother, she lives outside of Lowell, Massachusetts, and this was in New York, so it didn't make sense to me what was happening. Also, all the noises and the environment, it was confusing, it was frightening. I did not know what had happened.
Because luckily, 1 second you're taking the trash out, and the next second you must have felt like, in the Twilight Zone or something, popped into another place. I mean, what a very
strange feeling. I woke up with someone else's
feeling.
life. The last thing I remembered was I was going to take out the trash.
Exactly.
But lo and behold, it's a good thing that I'm addicted to my iPhone, because I clipped that iPhone on my hip as I was going out to take the trash, and that was how my husband found out. As I didn't return, he called, and the ER doctor answered. So that is how my family found out, and then they were able to put the pieces of my story together for me there in the ICU. The ripple effect, however, of that tree limb hitting me was, yes, it was detrimental to my health, because it was going to be a very long recovery process and an outcome uncertain. But also other things in my life started to change and fall apart. And one of them, probably the most detrimental of all, was that I found out that my husband, who was there when I woke up, he had been living a double life for nearly a year with another woman.
Where does the strength come from?
The strength for me, I guess, didn't come right away. I think we all, when we're facing loss, whether it's a health scare, something traumatic like an accident, a bad relationship, or even things in our career, we first need to react to them.
Yeah.
And whether that is anger, whether that's crying, whether that's having an adult temper tantrum, because I had many of those, because this was
I call those meltdowns.
This is none of the things that happened in my trifecta of loss did I wish upon myself or really have that much control over. So I reacted very much like a toddler, but, in a mid-30-year-old body. And eventually the strength came from me switching my perspective as to what had happened to me wasn't necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah.
There was a gift presented to me.
Isn't that the truth? Perspective is a beautiful thing, I'll tell you. And I don't think you really appreciate it until you go through something. Who came up with the term post-traumatic growth?
I didn't know it existed either.
Yeah.
I'd been living this life. But I didn't know it had existed until I read an article, and believe it or not, in Oprah magazine.
Awesome. It was
Oh, my
very
gosh.
nice to have you today.
Thank you so
you're
much.
Just like
We
a
just-
breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We wish you the
we wish
best.
you all the blessings on this movie, on your venture.
You're going to do great things, girl.
Well, I thank you. It was a wonderful conversation, and a shout-out to my friends, family, or what I call my clan in the New England area.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, woohoo.
And I typically end with, here's to looking up.